I've never laughed so much. We were so shocked. Shocked. We simply couldn't conceive that fashion could turn into something like that.
Everyone was still wearing high heels and sequins. Then this came along and we found it totally twisted. We didn't understand the proportions, the disproportions. Great clumpy shoes, women in flat shoes with messy hair and no makeup, with gigantic jumpers, and their clothes weren't even finished. They totally revolutionized European fashion.
Anti-fashion, as we recognize it today, began in the 1980s when Rei Kawakubo and Yohji Yamamoto went to Paris to show off their clothes. While there may have been other designers that have challenged fashion norms before them, it was Rei and Yohji who globalized Thai fashion design language or ethos. When Rei and Yohji first showed their work, people didn't take them seriously. The critic didn't take them seriously. They thought it was a joke.
From the beginning, some very tough critics, real critics, and I liked it.
People were a little confused, in fact. They thought they were walking in front of a gallery. And some people would come into the shop and insult us because they just couldn't understand how clothes that were so unfinished could cost so much.
Gen Pop today still see anti-fashion brands or avant-garde brand as ugly. Go to any social media of Yohji, Rei, Rick, Sakai, and they will say something along the lines of, this is ugly, why is it so expensive even though it looks unfinished, why is it so expensive even though the fabric looks really cheap. Gen Pop is really stuck on what a pair of footwear can be, so when Margiela Tabby pops up, it starts a really terrible discussion of people in the know being posh and a dick about people who find it ugly, just they don't get it, versus the people who can't fathom anyone buying the Tabby for how ugly they are and for the price that they're paying or the price that they're charging. With that being said though, I believe Margiela challenged the fashion industry more with how he approached runway, the use of upcycling or recycling of fabric you would normally associate with high fashion, more than the clothes themselves. I'm not discounting the clothes. He made some new stuff as well, but he didn't quite challenge the conventional shape as much as Rei did with CDG. I'm working on this video right now, but I'm not too well versed in Martin, so give me some time to research it out. Anyway, without Margiela, we wouldn't get Alexander McQueen, so if you're a McQueen fan, thank Martin. We are now in 2025. The works of Rei and Yohji are revered and respected by the critics and the hardcore fashion fans. When I first got into high fashion, I didn't really know why Comb was so special, but I just knew you can't speak ill of Rei. She's a god. Gradually, though, I start to understand why her work is important as I look deeper into it. There's not a lot of anti-fashion brand in the current landscape. You get Rick Owens, of course, Y Project, Junior Watanabe, Michael Kors, Balenciaga, of course, Margiela. But Martin hasn't been at the house for a while. Margiela has been more commercialized, more or less, given a few great looks here and there of anti-fashionness. Margiela as a brand now rely on their heritage and well-known product to stay afloat rather than designing something new or having something new to say. Anti-fashion is no longer seen as the outsider. They are now part of the fabric of the fashion industry that have been embraced by the industry. I mean, we can see how conventional fashion brands have collaborated with them. Margiela did a collab with H&M, Rei did a bag for LV, did a collab with H&M too. They also collab with Nike all the time. Yohji did a collab with Hermes, which is one of the fashion houses that is the definition of conventional beauty and fashion. Yohji and Rick also collab with Adidas. I would say Adidas is pretty conventional, you know, they make their product that try to capture as many people as possible, so Gen Pop. We can debate this in the comment though. Anyway, if the conventional brands within the fashion industry were offended by the anti-fashion brand and hate what they do to their beautiful fashion industry, they wouldn't collab. They would try to push it out. They would try their best to destroy the people who are making fun of their precious industry. Think Balenciaga hiring Demna, and now Demna is or was putting hoodies on Balenciaga haute couture. Since we can classify anti-fashion or avant-garde fashion as a niche or aesthetic within the fashion industry, we can say that they've been commercialized by the fashion industry, or they have somewhat commercialized themselves to stay afloat within the industry, or they are now part of the industry, or maybe I should say the fashion industry has commercialized rebellious, packaged it up nicely as a new aesthetic, and is now selling the attitude back to the public for those who want to feel as though they are somewhat different and are walking down the path less traveled. If you couldn't tell, I had a hard time picking one line, so I gave you all three.
Anti-fashion. It means simply, I don't follow the trend. Yeah, fashion is fashion. It's like air. So we breathe the air. So naturally we are influenced or polluted. The fashion goes changing every 3 or 4 years. But in that meaning, I'm not a fashion designer. I don't chase the trend.
Let's get rid of the ideas that have been around for a long time, such as folklore and traditions, and let's start again with something new.
Merriam-Webster defined it as not in agreement with popular fashions, deliberately or emphatically not fashionable. At the moment of this writing, I can't define anti-fashion yet, so help me out by comment down below. And no, this is not an attempt for me to have greater engagement on this video. At this particular moment, I can't define it yet. Maybe by the end of this video, I can come up with my own definition. Not promised though. An example I love, Versace came up with the trend of supermodel in the 80s and 90s. You know, Kate, Naomi, Linda, Christy, Cindy. This has passed down to 2025. Since these supermodels have large followings, they got fans. So some people only watch it for the supermodel and not the clothes. This is why some brands who are desperate for eyes or need to supplement their somewhat conventional clothing with supermodels to get more eyes on their show. In the early days of Margiela, he often covered his model with masks so people would focus on the clothes rather than the model. Or he hired unknown model, or I'm pretty sure there was a collection where he hired like regular people off the street. I'm not sure what collection it was. I know for sure though Vetements did it with the spring summer 2018. Anyway, what Martin did was anti-fashion with the masking a model in the 90s during the heights of the supermodel walking the runway to attract more attention. That is anti-fashion. A quick side note, before anti-fashion, fashion can be seen as a break from reality. They weren't political or current events didn't play a big role into what was shown on the runway. A form of escapism. Anti-fashion introduced or normalized this. If we look at Yohji collection in 1991 to 1992, we can see references to war. This was because the Gulf War was happening from 90 to 91. The 91-92 collection was held in January 1991, just about when the Gulf War in Kuwait was about to end. According to Archive PDF, the most iconic pieces are surely the back-painted leather jacket featuring airbrush drawing by Saiko Sumora. It was one of Yohji's first attempt at designing leather jacket for men. While referencing World War II, the back-painted leather jacket represents a man's determination to go to war for the woman they carry on their back. If you look at Chanel Autumn Winter 1991, you wouldn't know 40-something countries were at war. I am a bit over the place with this video. My apologies. In a way, you're along the ride with me as I write this video. Hopefully that makes it a bit more authentic, a bit more chaotic, but life is chaotic. I don't want my videos to feel too polished. Alright, back to the definition. Anti-fashion clothing are often unfinished, deconstructed, imperfect on purpose. Some designers have finished a garment only to then strip it open. Think Capital with their board jacket, where they purposely age up a jacket with the board technique. Think Rick Owens showing us unfinished armholes on this runway. Another aspect is using recycled material or unhigh fashion materials. The other aspect is shape. Comme des Garçons did a lot of unconventional shape, the lumps and bump runway, for example. Rick Owens with the glitter collection. So we kind of vaguely define anti-fashion, but it's hard, because it's an umbrella term. So there's ambiguity. Different people will have different definition. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It's open-ended. Since these brands are critiquing the industry from the inside, they also needed to act a little bit like every other brand, one of which is to be profitable so they can continue to release clothes to a very, very niche audience, to pay the workers, to put on runway and blah, 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 business boring stuff. This is why prices are quite high, because their audience is a lot smaller. They're making product at a smaller scale. I'm sure Ray and Yohji still feel like they're rebels in the fashion industry. They're still critiquing the fashion world. They're still challenging what clothes could and should be. However, their clothing brands are also businesses. A business needs to make money. This is the birth of CDG Play. They're not as challenging to consume as mainline CDG. They're mainly just a hard logo, sold at a lower price point, simple material, simple shape, more mass-produced, more accessible to the public. The Play line is CDG cash cow. Oftentimes we see avant-garde brand going deep into sales. Not all, of course. Sometimes they make a great item and then people will buy it at retail, but oftentimes deep, deep sale. To contrast this, let's look at LV. They never go on sale. Their product target a larger audience. They got more money so they can stay afloat when there's a bad period. Some avant-garde brands, if they don't unload the inventory, if they don't sell, they can't produce the next collection because they need the money from the previous collection to make the next collection. The point is, since they're still a business, they still need to sell, need to be profitable if they want to continue to critique the fashion world. To prove that these labels who probably hate the corporate world aspect still need to be executive in the business side of their brands, let's look at WWD. Yohji Yamamoto rescued from bankruptcy by Amanda Kaiser, Maya Socha, Kelly Weatherall, Kana Murakami. I recommend reading the whole article, quite interesting, but I'll put some quote for you guys. Yohji Yamamoto Incorporated filed for bankruptcy protection with the Tokyo District Court on Friday, but it has investors lined up to restructure its troubling business. Japanese private equity fund Integral Corporation said it will finance the fashion house restructuring effort and partner with the company for long-term success. I've had my company for over 30 years and I consider myself to be a designer first. I left many of the everyday business activities to others, but I think one reason that the company has come to this is that I left too much to others. Yohji Yamamoto, dressed in a long black coat and sneakers, said, I was told about the positive things, but many of the bad things didn't reach my ears. The company has liabilities of about 6 billion yen, or about 68 million at current exchange. Otsaku said, CEO of Yohji the brand, annual sale peaked in 1999 at around 12 billion yen, or about 109 million at average exchange for that year, but have steadily declined since then to achieve 7.5 billion yen, or about 80 million for that year ended August 31st. No matter how punk you are, no matter how anti-fashion you are, you still need to make products that people will buy, so you will need to put out something to that Gen Pop will buy. Ray and CDG did it right with the CDG play line. I'm sure the business side of Yohji, the brand, didn't want to tell Yohji, the designer, what was going on because they were in charge of the business side and they probably just want Yohji to focus on making the clothes. But the creative side needs to be in constant communication with the business side. Okay, Yohji, money isn't looking too good this year. Let's collaborate with Adidas. Let's do something with them. They get the coolness factor from us. We get that large sum of money. We also get extra exposure, which might translate into sales. Obviously, Yohji got saved and the brand is still releasing clothes to this day. I bring this up because Yohji just can't be in the studio looking at what other brands are doing and then doing the opposite. By the way, I know that's not the case, but I exaggerate for comedic purposes. Explaining it was probably not a wise choice. Anyway, Yohji needs to sit down on the business meeting, accountant meeting, sales meeting, marketing meeting, so there's a clear synergy of how the company is doing, what is needed to be done in order to be net positive on that year, for that year. I mean, sometime you need to re-release a well-beloved collection so we can somewhat forecast how the collection will be sold. Think Murakami LV collab during the slowdown of high fashion. In order to be net positive on the money side, it means that the fashion industry or the business side of your brand has to be able to commercialize your brand, market the product, find the audience to buy those products. This further proves that anti-fashion, the aesthetic, has been embraced by the fashion industry, has been commodified, and lastly, commercialized. CDG is now a high fashion brand. CDG has been interwoven into the fabric of high fashion or the fashion industry. This cannot be more proven right by the Met Gala 2017, where the theme was Comme des Garçons and Rei Kawakubo. This event is organized by Vogue, the face of the fashion industry. So how anti-fashion can you be when you are embraced by the magazine that promote the conventional side of the fashion industry all of the time? Vogue neatly tied a bow on the anti-fashion brand CDG and presented to the celebrity world who typically wear conventional brand and aspire to continue this conventional beauty side of fashion as another theme of the Met Gala. Do you see the irony yet? No? Let's talk Margiela. If Yohji and Ray did major work in the 80s, Martin was the 90s anti-fashion it brand. Did a lot of anti-fashion shit in the 90s. We're not going to go through all of that. I'm going to assume you all know the work of Martin. Maison Margiela is now owned by OTB, a conglomerate that owns Diesel, Jill Sander, Margiela, Marni, and Amiri. The very anti-fashion brand Margiela is owned by a conglomerate that also owns Amiri, which is purely a celebrity brand that I don't believe will stand the test of time. All of the anti-fashion, anti-establishment BS that Martin infused into his brand early on, they've been commercialized and sold to the consumer who are paying premium prices. After Martin left, OTB did whole, ooh, you don't know who designed the clothes, ooh, mysterious, ooh, we're so anti-fashion, ooh, we're better than Dior, until they hired Galliano and now Glenn Martin's at the helm. How anti-fashion can you truly be if a conglomerate whose only goal is to make more money for their shareholder see your anti-fashionness as something they can sell to the masses? The anti-fashion ideas that are expressed through deconstruction, subversion of beauty standards, rejecting mass consumption, all of these have been embraced by the system they originally sought to critique. These ideas have been packaged up, sold to the people who are also rich but don't want to be LV rich, don't want to be Chanel rich. Now you can be Yohji rich, CDG rich, Margiela rich. Oh wow, you're so different from the LV rich people because your clothes are deconstructed, your clothes have deeper meaning, your clothes make a political statement. Still on the same coin, buddy. These anti-fashion brands paradoxically profit from the commercialization of the very value they once sought to fight. Another line I had for this was anti-fashion brand now profit off of commercialization of the very value they once stood against. Whichever one is stronger to you, remember that one. Also, I tried to be in my hosier back here so it might not make complete sense anyway. Yohji, sure you can continue to critique the fashion industry, the beauty standards set by Chanel, Hermes, and LV, but that's only because we let you. You still need to be net positive on your money side with your anti-fashion brand. You still have to play the business game. When you're playing this game, you are now the system. The industry has commercialized you.